Hi, welcome to another episode of Planetary Wisdom. I'm Tanishka. This one is for the approaching new moon in Sagittarius, which is going to be a total solar eclipse. So eclipses come in pairs, and this is the follow-up to the full moon partial lunar eclipse that we had November 19 in Taurus. So this solar eclipse on the new moon is happening December 4 or 3, depending on which side of the date line you're on. Click the link in this email to see the exact time in your location. So we get eclipses when the full moon and the new moon align very, very close to the lunar nodes or the nodal axis, which are like the high and the low points of the trajectory of the moon's orbit. So when we have what's called eclipse season, you know, the time between eclipses leading up to eclipses, this is a time of great change. And, you know, eclipses can be feared because of that, okay? The more people fear change, the more they fear eclipses. But eclipses only usher in the change that is needed, the change that aligns us with our highest destiny and fate. Sometimes the nodal axis is called the nodes of destiny. So it is nothing to fear. It is the change that will set us free, the change that will empower us, the change that will usher in the conditions needed for our ultimate potential to flourish. So welcome in the change. And if you're doing ceremony, you might like to surrender up, welcoming in change in a way that's graceful. So what happens at a solar eclipse is the moon passes between the earth and the sun, so it obstructs the light of the sun temporarily from our vantage point on earth. So this can cause, you know, a little bit of pessimism. You know, if we think about when the sun is shining outside, we often feel more optimistic, okay? So too, when the light of the sun isn't seen, it can bring up our fears. So that's really what we're going to be journeying through this eclipse, is confronting our fears, okay? And it's an opportunity to understand the origins of the fears. Is, for instance, if we ask, is it true? Is the belief that is driving that fear, is that true? And this new moon occurs very close to the southern lunar node, which is in Sagittarius. And the lunar node axis has been in Sagittarius South Node, Gemini North Node, the opposite sign, since May 2020. So they're usually in an axis or opposite signs for about 18 months, and it will be shifting January 19, 2022 into a new axis of Taurus and Scorpio, ushering in new lessons for us as a group. So this is the final eclipse that's going to occur in the axes of Gemini Sagittarius. Okay, we had some last year, we had you know, eclipses earlier this year. So this is kind of like the finals exam of the lessons of Sagittarius and Gemini. And what is that? Well, the lesson of, because the South Node represents our past lives as a collective when we're looking at, you know, the collective node. And so our past life lesson has been to question the beliefs, because Sag is very much about the philosophy that we base our life choices on. That might be a religion for some, or it might be, you know, a substitute religion for others, such as science, okay? So this is a time to question what we believe in, rather than just blindly believing in it because our ancestors believed in it or the culture said it was so. So this is a time of us really asking, is it true? How do I know it's true? And, you know, Sag asks us to feel the truth, all right, intuitively, to know whether or not something sits right, whether it feels a bit off, okay, or smells a bit fishy, or doesn't resonate with us, okay? So the opposite sign of Gemini is kind of the fact finder, okay? It's the personality in the archetypal zodiac that will say, I've got a fun fact. But being the youngest of the air signs, it can be on a quest to just know as much as possible, to consume information and not necessarily be discerning. So it can be easily tricked by clever or cleverly presented misinformation, i.e. propaganda. And Gemini, the lesson of Gemini is the false teacher. This is where the North Node is opposite this solar eclipse. And the false teacher is one who dazzles you with how much they know, to the point where they dismiss what you think you know, okay? And they separate you from your own inner knowing, your intuition, the inner teacher, the inner guru. Whereas the true teacher will encourage you to see how things feel for you. Does that resonate for you? And only take on that which resonates as true and discard what doesn't. So what can happen if we've got a young or an underdeveloped mind? We can be easily influenced by those who embody the trickster archetype of Hermes. So those who wow us or enchant us with their charm, okay? They cast an enchantment or a glamour, and we can be so swept up in what they're promising that it's not until we separate ourselves and we take time apart that we can actually attune to what feels right for us, what feels true, because we sense our future, okay? It's like we get glimpses of it. We can see flashes of it. And so, which is called precognition. And we can get pulled off course by somebody that wants us to fulfill their will. And unless we get time apart to attune to our own intuition, we're not going to really follow our star. And that's what Sagittarius, the sign of this full moon total solar eclipse, asks us to do, to follow our own star, to be the wanderer, one who will take that road less traveled, won't just go down the mainstream, the main path, the highway of thought, but will wander off to explore other viewpoints, other perspectives, other philosophies, so that they can look at the conditioning they've received with some distance, with some perspective, because when you're in it, you can't see it, okay? It's like a fish in an ocean can't see he's surrounded by water.